Hi everyone, my name is Cynthia, and if you haven't watched any of my previous videos, I am currently a UX design student at CareerFoundry. And I just started my UX design immersion project, so I thought it would be nice to share with everyone the design process that I go through. In today's video, I am just going to be sharing the user research because that's where I'm at. I already completed that, so I'm gonna go over what I did. Prior to the user research, I did a SWOT analysis as well as a UX design analysis. So the research methods that I decided to go with were surveys and user interviews. I thought it would be a good idea to do surveys before I started the user interviews so I can just get a general understanding of the tools that the users are using, their pain points, and to just really collect some general information before I jump into user interviews, which tend to take a little bit longer. What I really like about user surveys is that you can gain quick and fast quantitative information. It's convenient for users and it's not time consuming at all. Another great thing about user surveys is that many times users can feel a little bit more relaxed because they're not moderated, and sometimes participants do feel a little bit more intimidated when there are designers that are either interviewing them or just present. The tools that I used for my user survey were Google Forms. It was the first time that I created a survey through Google Forms, and I thought it was very easy to use and very straightforward. Then I just forwarded out a link to my participants, and they didn't have to do any type of signing in to take the survey. So I think that that really helps because you just want to make it as easy as possible so you can get as many people to take your survey. The user survey that I did, it only had a total of 10 very short questions, and I had a total of 21 participants that took the survey. I just posted it on my Instagram, and I also messaged a few friends and family members so they can help me gather some information. Some of the questions that I asked in the survey were: how many credit cards do you typically use? How often do you check your credit score? And other questions revolving around coupons. And the reason why my questions mostly revolved around credit cards and how many bank accounts they have, as well as monitoring their credit score and using coupon codes, is because during my competitive analysis, I found that there was an opportunity for creating a financial app that provides all of those features in one place. The next step was to do my user interviews. And I created my questions after gathering all of the information from the surveys, because with the surveys, all of your questions are going to be close-ended. The great thing about user interviews is that, as opposed to user surveys, is that in user surveys, you can only ask some questions and it's going to be yes or no, or you give them multiple choice answers, and that's the end of it. But with user interviews, you're able to follow up and dig deeper if you need to when your participants are answering your questions. For the user interviews, the first question I started with was asking them to tell me a little bit about themselves, and if they can tell me about their money management habits and their experiences with financial apps. I thought that this was a really good opener because I had my set of questions, and based on what their answer was, I was able to decide which question to ask next. So I have my questions numbered 1 through 10, but depending on what my participant's answer is, I decide which question I want to ask next, because I want to keep it a little bit conversational. I don't want to just jump from one question to the next question when maybe I have an opportunity to look a little deeper into the information that they have provided. An example of how I wouldn't want my interview flow to go is asking a question like, what do you find most difficult when trying to achieve your financial goals? And then they give me a really good answer where I can learn a little bit more about their behaviors and attitudes, but then I jump into a completely different question like, when you log into your bank account, what information do you want to see? Conducting user interviews does take a lot of practice. Part of my intro to UX, I also had to conduct some user interviews, and I learned a lot from the first user research that I did, but I still feel like there's a lot of room for improvement in this user research that I did. I feel like I tend to follow up with closed-ended questions, or sometimes I follow up with leading questions, and those are things that you really want to try to avoid. After collecting all of the information and conducting all of my user interviews, some things that I found is that my participants want to save money. And well, let's be honest, who doesn't want to save money, right? But when they're looking for coupon codes, it can be very time consuming, and a lot of my participants use websites like Retail Me Not. I also found that many of my participants have different financial institutions that they work with, whether it's for investing or checking accounts. They tend to have at least 2 to 3 other financial institutions, and so this information will give me the opportunity to design an app that can provide a consolidated view of all of their banking and investment accounts. Lastly, my participants tend to check their credit score at least once a month, if not more frequently. But they have to use third-party websites and applications like Credit Karma or Experian. So this will be the final feature that I focus on for my financial app, and it will be to include that capability in the app that I'm designing, because ultimately I think that the biggest frustration is my participants are not able to get all of these different features in one place. They have to go outside and go through multiple websites and apps to either view all of their accounts, look for coupons, and check their credit score. So now that I've completed my user surveys and user interviews, I'll be analyzing all of the information gathered, and the next step will be to create user personas. And that is going to be the next video that I will be sharing with you guys on how I create my user persona with all of the information that I've gathered from the multiple participants that I've interviewed and surveyed. I hope that you guys have found my video informational and interesting, and make sure to stay tuned for my upcoming videos where I will continue to show the progress and the design steps that I'm going through to design the financial app for my UX design course. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe and to like my video.